Before we get started, we have one special guest in the house that I want to introduce. Tyler, would you stand up? Tyler Messenger, our new director of golf. We're getting Tyler's office all fixed up. He starts on September 2nd. So hold off any questions regarding golf until then, if you would, please. So in addition to Tyler, we have another special guest with us, Andrew Green, who I will not introduce. I'm going to let Mike Sanders do that. But as I've mentioned in the communications that we've had, that we've sent over the last few weeks, what we're about to discuss, and we'll discuss for the next several months, because this is not the only meeting we will have regarding this subject that Andrew will be at. We're going to have several of these over the next couple months before we come to you and ask you for some decisions. But they impact our two greatest assets, which I think by all accounts, everybody will agree with that statement, and those of course are our golf courses. A lot of misinformation, a lot of rumors that have been flying about. A lot of board members are coming up going, here's one I heard, here's one I heard, and I was in the gym the other day and here's what I heard. There's a lot of misinformation out there that Mike Sanders is going to clear up over the next few minutes and over the next few meetings. We've known for several years that in 2029 we're going to shut the East Course down. We know that. We've got an irrigation project that's in the works that we know we have to do. We feel that in order to do that, the maintenance work and everything else that we need to do would be impactful if we do all of the work that should be done and needs to be done at the same time. The project is slated for 2029, and consequently I will not be on the board at that point. Oh shit, besides my wife. Boy, tough crowd. Nor will any of the current board members. In order to have continuity through the project, last spring, I asked Mike Sanders if he would oversee the project from now until its completion. He has graciously agreed. Mike, has your wife agreed? His wife. You might ask why I asked Mike for this, to take on this role. First of all, there's not a nicer man at the club, and that's important as we go down this path. But he also has an expertise that is unique for what we need done. Let me just quickly outline why Mike is the right man. He's been a Belfair member since 2007, so he's got some history and some knowledge of what's been done around here. He was the director of golf at Pinehurst Resort. He founded the Club Development Associates. He was the managing partner and president of Pinehurst National and Governor's Club in North Carolina. He co-founded Legacy Golf Management for the development and management of high-end public and semi-private golf clubs that were designed by Jack Nicklaus, Larry Nelson, and a long list of others. He's also friends with another member, Bill Palmer. Bill, where are you? There he is. Bill's in the back and the side. Bill Palmer, as most of you know, has also got an extensive golf course background. I don't know whether he founded, owns, or still owns, but he was involved with heavily with Hilton at National at one point. And again, he has offered to graciously act as a consultant on the project. So we've got two people spearheading this project from now to its completion. There's no one better suited to do than has the expertise than Mike. We owe him he and Bill a huge set of gratitude for taking on this project. And on that regard, I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
Thank you, John. I was approached last fall by John and Matt regarding getting involved in this project. I thought about it for about a month, a lot. Talked to my wife a lot. She said, "Are you sure you really want to do this?" I've been very dedicated to Belfair, especially in the Green Committee and my activity there. And I am blessed to have been able to have that involvement. And I am blessed with the people that I've been surrounded with and I've enjoyed working with over these years. So I thank you all for that. I do want to recognize Will Fuller. We have 4 people on our committee. Will Fuller, he is the chair of our Green Committee. He is a member of the board. Will, would you stand up, please? Matt Tascalasas, who is our director of environment. As John mentioned, Bill Palmer. If you'd stand again, Bill. Bill has, like you said, has graciously agreed to work with us in an advisory role, or it's either until we kick him off the committee or he resigns or whatever may come first. The thing that's wonderful about Bill's situation, unlike myself, I've been retired from it for quite some time, but intimately involved in Green Committee here, through all the processes of renovations, et cetera, et cetera. Bill is still, even though not the operations manager any longer, he is still directly involved in the purchasing and selling of their golf courses and actively involved in renovation of a number of courses as we speak. So he brings a tremendous amount of knowledge to the table for us, and it's absolutely critical in the process we're going through right now. We have been working on this, like I said, since the first of the year. We have met every week since that time, have only missed 1 week. What I'm going to show you today is just a small snapshot of what we have done, what we've accumulated. It is massive. I'm not even going to talk about the scope of the project today. I'm going to let Andrew get a little bit more into that. But it has been massive undertaking what we've done. We think we've done a great job. We've accomplished a lot. We've had a lot of help from folks outside of here that Matt knows and Bill knows that has helped us tremendously on coming to a lot of great conclusions on what should we do and how we should move forward. So let me get started. All right, now again, this is very high level. There's probably 10 other things associated with what we have here. I picked out what I thought were some of the most important that we should look at. Revitalization of the East Course with a clear style distinction between the East and West courses, focusing on the East stunning low country setting, sand ridges, and marshlands. That is a true statement. We have a phenomenal piece of property. There's a lot of topography in the golf course, especially through the dune section, and then look what we have when we get to the marsh section. We have 3 holes, and this was interesting when we were out there with Andrew. We get to number 11, 12, and 13, and we said, man, you got great dunes over here, you got great marshlands over there, you got 3 holes in the middle. We could find a little bit better way to connect the 2 areas together. I'll never forget that statement. He had already picked up on that in a 2.5-hour trip around the golf course with he and Matt in the rain. And so it's amazing what he's identified so far and what he's done, even things that he's identified that we never even thought about. So we look at this, provide us and sustain a consistent high-level golf experience for our membership through the renovation of the East Course infrastructure with a focus on improving playability and maintenance efficiency while playing upwards of 40,000 rounds annually. That is a huge statement that covers a lot of areas, and from that one statement, we probably came up with 10 to 12 different things that we need to address to make it consistently a high-level golf experience, improve the playability, at the same time, improve maintenance efficiency. There's a few words with a lot of meaning to them. So how do we go about doing that? That's through a person of why we retain a person like Andrew Green to do what he does to make things happen and for us to accomplish our goals. It's that simple. For a few examples, modified bunkers and natural area designs. We've been playing with 6-foot steep slopes. How many of you have a problem either getting in a bunker or out of a bunker or even getting a ball out of a bunker? You can raise your hands. So there is challenging. So what can we do to better improve that and also provide Matt with the ability where we can maintain the bunkers more mechanically as opposed to hand raking our bunkers. Right now, all 36 holes, except for our natural waste areas, have to be hand raked and maintained. Every single one. 2, expand ingress, egress to fairways and greens to reduce wear and damage from golf cart and foot traffic. We know that's a huge problem. And Andrew's going to show you a slide a little bit later on of the first hole. He's going to talk about that a little bit. And we have those 2 bunkers down on the left, short of the green complex, that basically they don't come into play, and yet they're there simply with the removal or modification of that area. We could expand the exits from the fairway areas about 30 to 40 yards, which will certainly spread the traffic out for the golf carts. Expansion of high-impact tee complexes. We have already done some of that. But we've only done a part of it. What we did in the latest things that we did on the tees, back in the wintertime, Phil Woodruff and Tom Cowley went around the whole golf course, looked at it, identified the worst greens or the worst tees that we had, the wear patterns, it's the perfect time to do it because we were still dormant, and came back, or report to the green committee, and that's where we came up with the worst tees to go ahead and take care of at this point in time, which we have done. We know that we're going to be renovating, or we think hopefully we'll be renovating in 29, but we felt like between now and then, we need to provide a fair playing service for our membership, and that's exactly why this was done. Last but not least, replace latitude 36 fairway turf grass susceptible to mini ring fungus. We put latitude in 2018 while Ken Lee was still here, thinking it was a great grass that came out of Oklahoma State. That's why it's 36 latitude. Cold tolerant, so on and so forth, great grass. 4 to 5 years, 5, 6 years later, mini ring fungus shows up in the grass. You cannot kill the fungus. The only thing you do is you can control it by applying fungicides every 21 days, 10 months out of the year, at a cost of $100,000 plus. Why? Lifespans, useful life of golf course infrastructure components is 10 to 30 years. Those components have different lifespans. Bunkers, a little bit shorter than greens and irrigation. They're typically 10 years to 11 years, whatever they might be. And the lifespans can vary depending on the course geographic location. We're in the south, we're in a warm climate, so our systems and courses are being used and run all the time. Up north in your northern states, there's dormancy periods of time, play is going less. So with us going 365 days in a year, we're going to get a lot more wear and tear on, so our systems down here just do not, and our components just don't last as long as what they do in some other areas. You will certainly have folks maybe up north in some places, they may say, okay, well, I can get 35, 40 years out of their system. That's stretching it, they probably don't. Here it's probably closer to maybe like 25. In 29, the East Course will be 31 years old. The number of rounds and the impact of those rounds were not a consideration in the original design. They were not. We have verified that. They were never a consideration when we built the golf courses. Renovation is a mandatory investment in our most valued asset as determined by a large majority of our membership. By far, our golf courses, the large majority of our memberships truly believe and are correct in that our golf courses are fundamental to our success at Belfair. So we really have to take care of what we're doing. These types of things, with the age that we're at right now, are necessary to continue that and retain the value not only of our courses, but of our properties as well. They're essential to that. Cost savings and benefits. This is a big area. The impact and how we have historically done our projects here, and most of you know this, they have been piecemeal. I know for years, you know, I was involved in them, Ross Geikendall, John Abernathy, other folks on the Green Committee. We would go through situations where we would do X, and we should have done X, Y, and Z. And so therefore we had to come back 3 years later and do Y. Then come back 3 years later and do Z. That is not cost effective. It interferes with the member's experience in playing golf. And now, back in those days, we were probably playing 20 to 25,000 rounds a day. We're at about 40,000 rounds a day, a year, annually for the golf courses. So we have to be smart about how we do this so that we can provide a better, longer period of a great golf series. So do we go 1 9 to 10 month closure every 25 to 30 years and avoid, and so it avoids multiple 5 to 6 month closures. Our current long-term capital plan calls for irrigation in 29, and then it calls for greens bunkers renovation in 32. That's a typical example of how we used to do things before. So right now we've got 29 scheduled with irrigation, and we've got bunkers and greens in 32. So we'd be close to 5 or 6 months to take care of the irrigation. 3 years later, we're going to be doing the same thing on the other 2 homes. So the idea being we combine these. We did this when Kenley was here on a project we did on the West Golf Course. It had tees, bunkers, and also we were doing the learning center at that time on the renovation. We were adding the new practice putting green and chipping green. It was about a little under a $2 million project total, because we also renovated the building, expanded the building at the same time. So we said, okay, this is an opportunity. Let's combine the projects. The golf course projects, we all combined together. The budget on that was about $1.7 million. We ended up coming in at $1.5 million because we had more qualified contractors coming in to bid. They wanted the project because it was larger. And therefore, we had one mobilization, and that was it. So we saved about $200,000 budget. So it drops to the bottom line. Renovation of all golf course infrastructure expands the field of highly, just like I said, highly qualified construction companies, increases the level of competition, competitive building, and results in lower project costs versus year by year project renovation. Now, the other thing that we're coordinating, we're working with Ed Langin on this and Tom Angelo. Storm drainage, repair, replacement, pond maintenance, and course renovation are 3 separate capital projects. That's the way they're set up. That's the way they will be funded. Undertaking all 3 concurrently eliminates course closures, damage to the golf course, and dramatically reduces the combined total cost of the three projects. So essentially what we're going to be doing in next year in 26, we're going to camera all the storm drainage, which is below the golf course. And think of it this way, think of a layer cake. So you've got your storm drainage, POA storm drainage down below, and that's got your, let's say, 18, 24, 36, 48-inch pipe. The next level up is going to be your golf course drainage. It'll be roughly 12-inch pipe in that, and then you'll start feeding into that the 4-inch, 6-inch pipe that'll come from your greens and your bunkers, and it feeds into that whole system and ends up down below. So what will we be doing? We've been doing this all along. We've been slip lining POA lines. You know, we do that every year. That's part of our budget. So the plan is, while we're doing this, in 26 we're going to camera every drain, every line under the golf course. In 27 and 28 we will slip line what we can without interfering with play with the golf course. In the first phase of 29, we will go in and we will dig up and replace whatever we have to. So that'll be part of the first phase of the project in 29. So we have no further impact on that golf course, and we can solve those problems for long term. So we're going to do those at the same time. At the same time, we know the ponds, they have to be managed. And so what we're going to be doing there while we're doing this is we'll put up a border along the pond. We will dredge them out. We'll put the spoils right on the bank. The water will come back in the pond. And then what we can do once it dries out, we will take those spoils and we will lose them. We will put them in different places on the golf course. You'll never even know it was done. And we will save, because of the disposal fees, we will save between probably $300,000 to $350,000 in disposal fees. So now what we've done is we've done 3 projects concurrently, which is going to save money and we have less impact on all of us in multiple ways. And then the last thing that I want to leave up here, golf course renovation and infrastructure replacement is a standard and necessary practice undertaken by clubs worldwide, crucial for maintaining the quality, competitiveness, and sustainability of the golf course in the long term. Renovation of the East Course is not an option, but a necessity. We just have to determine when we need to do this and our willingness to go through it for 10 months. And one of our primary things I never mentioned here is we are actually already looking at, even though it's probably not our responsibility, how do we accommodate our membership in playing golf while this is underway. That's going to be more for Tyler. He's going to have a new thing to do when he gets to Belfair, and also the golf committee. But by that time, we have 3 years to work on this. So by that time, we believe that we can find, we've already talked to Bill Palmer about Hilton Head National, we've got the Crescent next door, so there's ways and things we can do to accommodate our members. That is critical to this project. All right, now to the guy you really want to hear. Andrew Green. I am honored to introduce Mr. Andrew Green, President and Principal Architect of AH Green Design. He has a unique and diverse background with degrees in landscape architecture, a BS in turf grass management from Virginia Tech. And he spent 14 years with McDonald & Sons construction company who primarily did things on the eastern seaboard. And McDonald & Sons is actually the company that helped us or did the work for our West and our Learning Center greens. So we're very familiar with them. So they're a great company, and Andrew was with them for 14 years. So in my mind, we have definitely picked the right person to be involved with Belfair. So not only does he have a degree in design, he has a turf grass management degree, which is huge because when he designs, he keeps that in mind of what we need to do to help Matt to be more efficient in what he's doing. That all interplays together is very important. He has received numerous national awards in the categories of renovation, transformation, and restoration, including the following notable clubs, to name a few. Inverness Club, Toledo, Ohio, Restoration of the Year. Congressional Country Club, Blue Force, is going to be hosting 10 PGA of America events over the next 20 years, and it will culminate in the 2037 Ryder Cup. That received the Transformation Year Award. Interlocking Country Club, Edina, Minnesota, Renovation of the Year. East Lake Golf Club, which we're going to be seeing this weekend. They did that in 2023, and that's the permanent host for the FedEx Cup Championship. Scioto Country Club, Columbus, Ohio, Indian Creek Country Club, Miami, and he is currently restoring Kansas City Country Club and Chevy Chase Club in Maryland. He has been chosen to renovate the Atlanta Athletic Club's Highland Course in 2028, and also can confirm that he will be doing one of the courses at Cherokee, where Ken Lee, our former Director of Agronomy, is today. So that's going to be happening about that same time frame. New courses under construction is Firefly in Nashville, Tennessee, and Quanu in Greenville, South Carolina. He has been recognized as one of the leading renovation architects of the day and among the most sought-after golf course architects of our current generation. Please welcome Mr. Andrew Green.
Wow, that's a lot to live up to. Good afternoon. It's awesome to be with you. Really appreciate you coming out today. We'll see how many rumors we can dispel and maybe a few we can add. How's that sound? So first, my cheesy title, kind of dad joke, but really I'm honored to be a part of Belfair in your future. And the East Course is a wonderful piece of ground. The first time I walked it, I just saw so much potential resting there, and really look forward to this journey to the future and to share with you what I think we can do to make your golf experience on the East Course just absolutely supreme, okay? So a little bit about me. Who the heck's Andrew Green? Yeah, I get it. I grew up in the mountains of Virginia. Learned the game in and around middle school. Fell deeply, madly in love with the game. Couldn't put it down. But a real humble beginning to the game, and I think by kind of starting there and building to where I am, a real full appreciation about what the game of golf offers and how the game affects different people. In my design career, I hit this kind of hallmark moment when I realized that when I could get in a piece of machinery and mold and shape the ground, now I could pair the things I drew on a piece of paper with what I could do in the dirt. And it's a lot of fun. Playing on equipment like a big kid, it's great. One of my favorite things to do. In that journey though, I found out that when you're the guy that designs it and has to build it, you're the guy everybody points to. So you gotta make decisions, you have to be confident, you have to have enough experience and knowledge to know it's going to work, and then to make it happen. And I love being in the dirt, making sure that what I'm drawing is coming together. And I never thought, standing on this tee box at an Everyman's Club outside of Roanoke, Virginia, that I'd be on the set of Golf Channel talking about the 2023 PGA Championship at Oak Hill. But it was an awesome week. And since then, we've had a number of different projects of similar notoriety. It's been an amazing ride. And not only do I respect and honor what I've done in the past, I'm really looking forward to the future and all the great things that we have out there. So a little bit more about my past. Those 14 years at McDonald & Sons that Mike spoke about, it was really foundational for me. I never spent a single day working for a modern architect. I learned everything by doing, watching, reading, studying. So it gives me a little different perspective. During that time, our company was doing some amazing work, especially for the USGA, like the rebirth of Bethpage, where the Ryder Cup will be in a couple weeks. Oakmont, that was 2 renovations ago, same thing with Marion. But you got to see these amazing, pinnacle places of the game and how they evolved, how they were being worked on, and things not only that I liked seeing, but things I thought maybe I could do better. And this guy over here, Chip McDonald, he was the owner of McDonald & Sons, taught me so much. He taught me a lot of self-reliance in this business, certainly the value of the lines I draw on a piece of paper. And his biggest thing was, if you're going to design it, you better be able to maintain it. Early in my career as a designer, definitely was working on the East Coast, a lot of Mid-Atlantic stuff. King Carter Golf Club was a new course in the eastern part of Virginia. It actually won the best affordable golf course by Golf Digest in the kind of mid-2000s. Sunnybrook Golf Club in Philadelphia, a really cool spot, Bitterman in Wilmington, Delaware. And the last course I did with McDonald & Sons was the Grace course at Saucon Valley in central Pennsylvania, if you've been there. Out on my own, started kind of modest roots on that too, trying to get jobs that I could handle and to learn. And it was amazing how jobs kind of build one onto the next. The thing you learn on one job, you take and carry to the next, and it serves you well, so forth and so on. Places like Card Sound down at Ocean Reef and Key Largo, if you've been down there. Huntington Valley, an amazing William Flynn course. Where's my Lancaster buddy? A great William Flynn course in Philadelphia. The Country Club of Virginia, where they actually are hosting the Schwab Cup playoffs here shortly. And then all the way down to Montego Bay in Jamaica. So people ask, how much warm season grass experience do you have? There's nothing warmer season grass in Montego Bay, Jamaica. Actually, Richmond might be hotter. So after those successes, I was able to secure some pretty crazy things for me. Again, small town kid living a dream. Things like Inverness in Toledo, Ohio, Scioto, where Jack grew up. I actually took over for him as the architect. Congressional, my childhood place where I watched golf being played at Ernie Els in '97. I walked mowed fairways, and now I was the architect there. And then Oak Hill again, up in Rochester, New York. And what I've learned as I've worked through these projects and honed my craft is that each golf course should have its own personality, its own sense of place. The design elements that make it so unique so that you want to go experience it. It's like taking a road trip and going to a fast food joint. You don't want to do that. You want to go to a little local hang, a little hole in the wall. You want to see culture, experiences that are different. That's what golf is like. So at Inverness Club, we really tried to lean into the history of the place, tried to make sure it felt really authentic. You see in the bunkering, these bunkers are laying pretty flat. This is in a Donald Ross kind of motif. But you see that a lot of the fairway bunkers, they sit at an angle. They're not just across the line of play. They sit in these different configurations. It allows the game to be different from hole to hole. Scioto, again, where Jack Nicklaus grew up, the ability to restore that amazing place. It's actually going to host the Senior Open next year. We're hoping Tiger's going to play. It's the first year he's able to play. And the cool thing is, if he wins, he'll be the only person to win every USGA championship available, because there wasn't a junior AM when Nicklaus played and some of the other greats. Really cool. But again, leaning into this idea that the golf course is really unique and different and special. And it really makes the sense of pride you have in your club kind of elevate. At Oak Hill, again, leaning into some of the history of that place, hosted a lot of amazing tournaments. They just announced the 37 Women's Open, I guess 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was up there for that. But again, a completely unique experience. And to have the world's best show up and play was, just dream come true. Really, really cool week. And then we just finished Interlochen in Minnesota. Anybody here from Minnesota? Come on, okay, all right, yeah. It's an amazing piece of ground, one of the most unique golf courses I've ever worked on. It's going to host the 2030 Women's Open in honor of Bobby Jones' centennial of the Grand Slam, which he won the US Open here in 1930. Another really magical place, and like a couple of these bunkers look a little mean. But there's a reason, right? They're hosting some major events, whatever. But look at how you can walk in and out of them, okay? And you can actually recover. This is a great example here where if you're just off the line of play, you can hit out, no problem. The further off the line of play, a little more aggressive. And I did this starting in 2014 on my own. And I did it for almost 10 years on my own. And I've started to surround myself with some people I really admire and trust. Not only my family, got my brother here, and this is my middle son, but I've got a heck of a team that I work with every day. And I trust them implicitly. And my big key to work with me is you gotta be a good person. You gotta love the game of golf, and you gotta listen. If you can do those things, you can be on my team. And so I'm very blessed to have some really special people helping me. Now when it comes to the work, I love my paintbrush. I'm a big Bob Ross fan. You guys watch Bob Ross, right? I absolutely love Bob Ross. If I get in a jam, I'll turn on Bob Ross on like Prime Video. My kids are like, "What are you doing, Dad?" I'm like, "Bob Ross, come on. Any happy little accents, anybody can do this." No, but this is my paintbrush, okay? Like Bob Ross. I love the opportunity to craft the dirt and do it with a personal touch and a lot of intent. I also love the history of the game. When you go back and look at the way the game has evolved and how similar it is at times and how different it is, and all the great stories and the magical places the game has been played, I can't get enough of it. And these are a couple of my favorite people. This is Alexa Sterling. Anybody heard her name before? She actually grew up with Bobby Jones. She beat him one time. Amazing player. I'm trying to help get her in the Golf Hall of Fame. She was a really special young lady. But here's Bobby Jones. Just really cool. Just again, can't you see yourself as a kid playing golf in a similar circumstance, and to think that these two greats were doing the same thing we all did? Now thinking about great golf course design plays into history. And part of that is that this perennial list, and people can put them in different order, I get it, but I think we could all agree the 10 courses up here are pretty solid, okay? Not really a weak one in the group. Now the cool thing about this is the newest golf course on this list. Anybody know what it is? Take a guess. Augusta, 1933. Okay, so we've been playing golf in the United States for almost 100 years or 100 years plus, right? And our favorite golf courses are 100 years old. Why is that? Well, certainly their history means something in what we know about them, their aura, but they're also foundationally tied to the ground on which they are played. And when we think about a place like Augusta National, if your first time there, I've yet to meet anybody that's gone there for the first time and not said, "Oh my goodness, the topo blew me away," right? The golf course and the ground work together perfectly. Alistair McKenzie did this drawing, and his wife actually did the watercolors. I'm not sure if my wife's ready for that. We'll see. But she did the watercolors on the train when they left Augusta. But look at this drawing. There are 23 bunkers and 0 fairway lines. McKenzie and Jones knew that the journey through the ground is what makes the golf course. And when we think this is an old picture, certainly, but even today, it makes the golf course. So it's important we remember that. If you want to know, there are only 44 bunkers at Augusta today. Pretty good number. All right, then we go to a place like Pine Valley. If you have the great fortune to get there, it's really hard. It is a hard golf course. But it is amazing how the golf holes fit on a piece of ground. There are more unique golf holes on this one piece of ground than anywhere else in the world, in my opinion. It is amazing. If we go out west and look at one of these guys, Cypress Point, they're going to host the Walker Cup soon. You got to tune in and watch it. If you haven't had the great fortune to get to the Monterey Peninsula and see this place, it is a religious experience, one of one. And the crazy thing is that all the holes out on the water, they get all the love. The holes inside, pretty stinking good too. The property and the design work hand in hand. All right, so all the greats share some things, but there's not like a perfect recipe, but these are the things we're trying to make stand out when we play a great golf course. Unique and interesting topography and using it well, okay, getting those differing golf holes. Wonderful hole variety, where the length of the golf hole and the challenges you face are different, so that as you play the golf course, you're never playing the same hole twice. Really important. A range of shot value. We want you to hit every club in your bag, okay? We want you to feel like you have to learn to craft shots, play different shots, and have fun, okay? These are really important to that as far as holding your interest day in and day out. Exciting greens. Greens where the whole location matters, okay? It's not just, I just gotta hit it to the center. It's maybe I can take this pen on, maybe I need to play over here, a little bit of local knowledge. You know, there's really cool things we can do with great greens. Supreme golf strategy, making you think, okay? Thinking and executing are two different things. I gotta hit up the left side, pushed it, in the right rough. Okay, I get that. But we want you to at least think this is the way you're supposed to execute a shot. At the end of the day, if we create a great golf course, it's gonna be a great experience, and it's gonna be something you want to be a part of. So here at Belfair with the East Course, we are looking to give you the greatest golf experience possible, so you can't get enough of it. All right, as an architect, again, I said I never worked one day for a modern guy, so I had to learn from these old guys. So this is my first old guy, William Flynn, Lancaster Country Club, great golf course. Okay, he designed that one. He said the principal consideration of the architect is to hold the interest of the player from the first green to the last, from the first tee to the last green, and present problems along the way. That as you stand on the tee or at your ball in the fairway, you're thinking about what you have to do to execute. He goes on to say the best way to whet the appetite and improve the game of any golfer is to offer an incentive and provide a reward for high-class play. And I love, he said, by high-class play is meant simply the best at which each individual is capable. I love that quote so much, that last piece is on the back of my business card. Why? Because if I lined you all up and I put a flag 100 yards out there and I asked you to hit it as close as you can to that flag, every one of your golf swings would look different. You might pull a totally different club. Your ball flight might be way up in the air, it might be running along the ground. But if I give you those opportunities, I'm making it good for you. Okay? And golf is about finding ways to use your skill because it's different than everybody else's to find success. What does that mean graphically? This is a drawing from Alistair McKenzie, the same guy that did Augusta. And he said he was watching golf being played at St. Andrews one day. And he said 3 out of the 4 lines of play he drew were correct. What? What? He said he means that you can figure out different ways to unlock golf holes based on the way you play. And depending on where your first shot lands, you gotta figure out how to hit the second shot. We need golf holes that allow you to find different ways to find success. Ultimately, that's what we're after. All right, this one's hard to see. I apologize for those in the back, but one more of my old guys, and you'll see a bit of a theme here. This is Donald Ross, okay? He did a lot of great things, Pinehurst #2, a lot of courses in Pinehurst. He said the ideal course is one that presents a test of golf for the everyday golfer and the first-class player. He said a properly designed course can take care of every class of golfer. My aim is to bring out of the player the best golf that is in them. It'll be difficult to negotiate some holes, but that is what golf is for. Always joke, that's like a golf architect get out of jail free card. Okay? Some holes are gonna be tough. It's a mental test and an eye test, and the hazards and bunkers are placed in order to make you use judgment. Sounds familiar to what Flynn said, right? As well as the graphic from McKenzie. Let's go one step further. This guy named Harry Colt, he's a pretty good guy, pretty good architect. Designer of a course should start off in his work in a sympathetic frame of mind for the weak, but at the same time be as severe as he likes with the first-class player. No one's laughing about that. Oh, okay. You'll like this one better. That's pretty harsh, but cool. I get it. Architect, love it. In this connection, it's well to bear in mind that golf is primarily a pastime and not a penance. And that the player should have a chance of extracting from a game the maximum amount of pleasure with the minimum amount of discomfort as punishment for his evil ways. All right? So I have a heart. I do. All right. Last one, Golf Architecture 101, okay, last slide. A.W. Tillinghast, another old guy. Wingfoot, may have heard of it. He designed it. Really good guy. San Francisco Golf Club, a bunch of others. He said early American golf was all about punishing you. If you hit a poor drive, maybe just kind of hit it off the tee, sculled it, you were in bunkers. You were punished for hitting a poorly struck shot. And then you'd have to cover another series of bunkers to a heavily guarded green. And he said, hold on a second, we're not thinking about the game right at all. He said, actually, if you have a good fairway bunker, a good greenside bunker, and an angled approach, you can create a proper side and a wrong side to every fairway, where the best player tries to challenge that trouble, and if they pull it off, they're rewarded with a better angle on the next. Whereas if you play away from trouble on your first shot, your second shot is harder, because now you got to come over the bunker, maybe the green leans away from you. Okay? Pretty interesting dynamic, very simple to understand golf strategy. The coolest thing about this is what all those other guys were saying, making it work for the shorter player. He's cleared out what he calls the Duffer's range. I'm not sure that's politically correct. And the secondary Duffer's range. Okay? So if we put these hazards in the right spot, the best players here at Belfair are going to be challenged. Okay? It's going to be tough. That's what they're looking for. For the rest of us, we're going to have room to move our golf ball around. And maybe we have to lay back occasionally, but we have to think a little bit, and we create a lot of kind of multiplicity, allowing many different golfers to play and enjoy the golf course. Okay. When it comes to golf courses and kind of their inherent character, I think we really lost something when we got the bulldozer. Because when we got the bulldozer, it didn't matter what the ground looked like when we started, we could make it whatever we want. And because of that, then golf courses started to look the same. And it became kind of boilerplate or mass-produced. In post-war, a lot of the golf looks very similar. This is Crofton Country Club between Baltimore and Annapolis in Maryland, not too far from where I live. This is Congressional, the blue course before we did the renovation work. And that's your first hole. Okay, so what I'm saying is the bunker dimensions, kind of the way the pieces fit together, all started to be a bit similar. And I don't know whether it was that we're running out of good ideas or it just the way it happened, but golf started to look a lot alike. My thing is the East Course here at Belfair is spectacular, a magical piece of ground. It should stand on its own as the only East Course, okay? It shouldn't look like anything else. It should be its own thing. Also in this picture, Mike was talking earlier, there's pinch points on the green because of the bunker in position, and certainly pinch points of card traffic exiting because of some of the bunker placement. Now, we don't want to dumb down the design or change the strategy and heart of a golf hole for golf carts. That's not great. But we ought to at least consider how you're going to move through the property. And maybe there's a better solution for strategy and a better solution for traffic. With all of this in mind, and I've kind of killed this subject, but it's really important for me to say this. Golf is the only game defined by the ground on which it is played. Okay? Every golf course is unique because each piece of ground is unique. And the more you connect with your piece of ground in unique ways, the better. It's also really important to understand that golf doesn't have to be complicated to be amazing. Often architects are like, I put like 6 bunkers over there, and like 3 there, and like an 8-tiered green, and that'd be awesome. Hold on. 1 in 18 at St. Andrews is nothing more than a big open field. It's a park on Sunday afternoons. Okay? It's pretty stinking good. Now granted, you're playing into the heart of St. Andrews, a little bit of history, Coleman Golf. But the Valley of Sin, the Rumples, And even the angles of play on the first hole all work so perfectly together, but it's not complicated. So it's a good check for me to say, hold on, Andrew, just good, solid design principles, we're going to create great golf. All right, 15 here. Sweeps beautifully left to right? The ground is working with us. I don't know about the shade pattern, Matt, sorry. Maybe we can work on that. But one thing, and I know with it being wet today and out looking at the golf course, I'd love to make sure that you could hit a ball and kind of run and use the ground to kind of let it curve. It's so wet, especially today. Some of the heights of cut need a little bit of TLC. There's some things we can do to just get the golf hole and the ground to work better together. And there's a lot of things going for it. The water down the right side, the trees, the overall shape of this ground is really nice. So we got some stuff to work with. And then some of the dunes, like over on 6, if I blindfolded you and put you there, you'd never think you were in the low country. Let's take advantage of that. Let's use the assets of the East Course to be solely unique. Those are 2 easy examples. How I've done this in the past at Congressional, it was really about taking a landscape that had been totally bulldozed multiple times and trying to get some semblance of natural landforms and then put the golf course on it. And so you see that, there's lots of shadows and ripples and things that we created, trying to make the golf course feel like it lived a little bit. But it's the flow of the ground and the differentiation of the golf holes because of the way they fit on the property that's important. And as Mike said, it's going to host a bunch of events. Had a really successful senior PGA here earlier this year. So here's a couple examples of befores and afters, and it just starts to give you a sense of how we can take something that's okay. Congressional Blue was not a bad course to start with, but how we can potentially make something like that better. Here on the 12th hole, you see this hog's back, okay, how the ground's bending a little bit. You couldn't quite appreciate it because it was so narrow. And then the green kind of set up on a pedestal, even though the natural grade was over here and over here. And the bunkers kind of feel forced, jammed up there with the bulldozer. And then you start to look how much, there's a bit of an opportunity to expose that amazing clubhouse and connect with it just because it's an asset of the property. So here's the after. It's actually way wider, so there's more forgiving, more room to play, but you also kind of have to be a little more precise, especially as a long player, because as the ball wants to get off that hog's back, it might run a little bit more. So it's this really interesting intersection of width and topography. And then you start to see, we get this view up to the clubhouse. We're trying to get this ground back down to its natural grade. Okay, look at the bunkers here. This thing looks really nasty from the tee, but it actually, you can step right in and you can play a shot out towards the green. It looks scarier than it actually is. That's a cool thing for architects to do, okay? Make you a little nervous standing on the tee, you get in there, oh, that's not so bad, I can hit a 7 iron, I can get out there, okay? So those are some things that we potentially use as we work through the East Course. This is the 14th hole. This was one of the holes actually in walk mode in '97. The narrowest golf hole in the state of Maryland, maybe on the East Coast. Incredibly narrow. And I told the committee I wanted to make it the widest. Because it was sitting on a really elegant high point up there to low, but you really couldn't appreciate the ground. Look at the width. The fairway's 3 times as wide, okay? Now, the cool thing about this from a playability standpoint is I give you a ton of width, especially for the short player, but the guy that's trying to overpower it, if they land and get too careless, there's a ditch here, and that's out of bounds there. So the short player, plenty of room, okay? Super wide, like 60 yards wide. The long player, you gotta think a little bit more. That's a great way to find a nice balance. When it comes to putting surfaces, it's really important that as you play a golf course day in and day out, and here at Belfair, certainly you want to play a lot of golf. It sounds like you're playing a lot of golf, right? 40,000 rounds, a lot of golf. That you want to play day in and day out and get a little something different out of it. I don't know how many times you played a golf course and it's like, man, the pin was there yesterday. Or it's only in the front or the back. It's because the greens aren't really conditioned to allow for that multitude of hole locations. What you're gonna see this week at East Lake, and they used it last year and they've been using it now for what, a year and a half as a member. The hole locations matter, the green shapes matter. And so it allows you to play a golf course day in and day out with some differentiation. It also allows you to set up the golf course really hard or pretty forgiving. And so I talk about like 6, 6, and 6, where you have 6 holes that are a little challenging, 6 holes that are pretty easy, and 6 holes in the middle when you do course setup. If you have a heavy play day, lean towards the easier, okay, quicker. This is the first and second holes there at East Lake. Again, looking at the bunkering, really low and flat in from the fairway edge. Different kinds of faces depending on where the bunker's positioned. This guy's kind of a little nasty, sorry. Don't hit it in there. But it allows you to get the ball out and physically walk in and out of the bunker. If I have the picture of my crew up there, my #1 pet peeve is a bunker you cannot physically walk in and out of. It drives me nuts, and I see it all the time. Thank you. All right, when it comes to putting surfaces, when you have a circle, I used to talk about circles, and I couldn't quite get my point across of why a circle on a putting surface just isn't very exciting. So let me try with this graphic, okay? If the hole location is some area of that concentric circle, the experience of playing to it isn't that differentiated, right? Maybe the green is sloping from back to front, and so this is uphill and that's downhill from a ball that lands in the center. Otherwise, it's just kind of golf, okay? It's not unique. When you have greens that have a certain integrity to their putting surface, now all of a sudden, a back left on this green is way different from a back right. And so the way you play the golf hole, maybe the club you pick, if it's a par 3 especially, maybe you're thinking about how that shot's going to react. And then the hazards around it also matter. And that's totally different from one in the front. Way different than a circle. And when you have an elongated green, the difference from front to back might be 2, 3 different clubs. By having things like this as part of your East course, now when you play the golf course time and time again, you get a little something different. And maybe you're hitting 3-wood because the pin's on the front. Maybe you want to hit driver because the pin's on the back or the angle, something to that effect. On a par 3, it's a couple different clubs depending on where the hole location is. You get a lot of value out of the same square footage. And then over here on the far right, yeah, a hole location in the center could be a little more forgiving, maybe aid in pace of play, but the ability to tuck it or utilize those edges, again, changes the way the green can be used. Hope that makes sense. All right, so let's talk about the East course some more. Really cool piece of ground. I love the differentiation of it from that to the west. I think it's important that we embrace some of the natural assets that you have. Certainly the live oaks, the Spanish moss, the dunes land. Those things are things we're trying to embrace. As Mike said, the reason we're considering this is because the components of the golf course are getting to a critical life point. And I always put this slide in my presentations, and it makes me nervous every time. Because often people say, well, these guys, they're just trying to sell something. I get it, okay? It's not because these guys are trying to sell something. It's because we're trying to educate you that the components of the golf course only last a certain period of time before they start to degrade. It takes more to maintain them to get to the level that you expect, and your golf experience suffers. Think about it like the roof on your house or the tires on your car, okay? At some point, it's just a reinvestment. And when you look at these years, don't get so hung up on, well, our bunkers are X, irrigation's Y. The thing you really need to understand is that at some point, they wear out. And the other thing is that when you really study this at a 30 plus or minus year period, that's just a major point of reinvestment. Because that's about when the generational aspects of a course really start to suffer. When we're thinking about that in the master planning process, It's also important to understand the things that need to be addressed and in what order they need to be addressed in. And so this is a list of order of construction is from the bottom to the top, and these are the layers of the cake. Mike did a great job explaining this with the drainage. But when we're building a golf course, the first thing we do is kind of demo day. Anybody like Joanne Gaines? Okay, I know my audience. Demo day, all right? And then major drainage, earthwork, shaping, okay? And then once we get the dirt where we want it, then we're building features, so bunkers, greens, tees. And then there's supplemental drainage. This is things like XGD, the things that dry out the golf course. And then irrigation goes on top of that. And then the last two things are the cart paths and the grass. And so as you start to realize that a lot of these differing components need to be addressed as part of this potential renovation in 29, you start to see that making sure you get these in the right order are important, that you get the best end product for the most efficient use of resources. Resources being money and time. Objectives, okay? Tried to package what I'm in pursuit of the best I could into words. Let's see how I do. All right, the first is to expand the canvas to maximize great golf for all players. Boy, is that, pretty bland. Kind of broad spectrum. What the heck does that mean? I don't know, but let's go. No, here's what it means, okay? If you are a higher handicap golfer, a beginner, somebody just likes to play the game, maybe you're a little seasoned, you just want to have fun playing the game, we want you to have a blast. We want you to have great tee boxes that are level, they aren't bulged in the middle, you can put a tee on the ground and take a good swing. We want you to have tees where you can get into the fairway without carrying all kinds of crazy stuff. We want you to be able to bounce the ball into a lot of the greens. And we want you to just have a lot of fun and do it in a reasonable amount of time. For the middle player, the average player, players like me, I want you to just have so much variety and so much differentiation from hole to hole and day to day that you can't get enough of the place, okay? There's going to be moments of challenge and moments of success. That's what golf is for. Now, for the best players in the club, I'm going to make it as hard as I possibly can. But I got to do that within reason. If we can find some interesting tee angles, maybe some added distance, we'll try to find some of those things. But for the most part, we're going to position hazards and things to make you think. And that's the best player from any of the tees. We're going to make you think. Okay? And I've shown you a bunch of ways we can do that on the previous slides. The most important thing we're going to do is solve the chronic playability and maintenance issues you have. And I'm going to show you a handful of those on the next few slides. This one's a little hard to understand, but I hope I can explain it well. A lot of modern golf courses are really pretty pictures. You stand on the tee and you're like, wow, it's gorgeous, it's amazing. Yeah, it is. Bunkers flash and dance, green sits beautifully, awesome fairway. There's no soul, there's no stake, there's no real intention and thought. If we can match the amazing sizzle to really good steak, we got this thing. The East Course will be one of the best in the state. Okay? Maybe better than that. Imagine the sizzle and the steak. Take advantage of the bold earthwork on the property. So the combination of the dirt that was moved the first time and the natural topography you have one of the most amazing pieces of ground in the low country I've ever seen. It is amazing the golf shots you have just because of the way the ground moves. Let's take advantage of that. Increased variety, that kind of goes back up to the first, but we really want to make sure you have that in bulk. Embrace the low country feel. Those amazing live oaks with Spanish moss, the marshland, the topography, the dunes, embrace all of that. We want it to feel solely unique. And then be sustainable. I'm not into fads and I'm not into experiments. Okay? Let's leave those to somebody else. Let's use tried and true measures to build things and use products we know will work and we know will work in the low country. All right, a couple things specifically. The drainage component, we put a lot of this black plastic pipe in the ground in the 90s and early 2000s. We're still using some. We've changed a little bit of the metrics of how this drain pipe is manufactured and utilized. But what we've seen when we thought we put this in, plastic should last forever, right? Well, it doesn't seem like that's the case. And it's some combination of the way the two components, there's an inner wall and an outer wall, and we've seen some things where we get these cracks in between. I've also seen some linear cracks. It might even be from where the pipe was installed and the way it was tamped. The other thing is where the pipes join together, we see sinkholes. So this is the left side of one on the east course. Okay, Matt and his team have repaired it a handful of times. Every time it rains, it seems to want to rear its head. This is an issue we obviously have to fix in things like this. Scoping the pipes will really give us a nice quantitative analysis of the work we have to do. Anybody play golf today? Did you really? Bless you. Anybody else? Oh, yeah, there are a couple. Yeah, don't be shy. I'm glad you guys got out, but my goodness. Do you lose your golf ball in the center of the fairway anyway? I'm not trying to be mean. It was wet. My goodness, it was wet. Those are footprints. That's not golf cart tracks. Those are footprints. That's 6 approach. We gotta fix that. We gotta fix that, right? So we know we've got some great tools, both in interior drainage, catching water above a chance it has a problem. We have some soil amendment things we can do. We also have some subsurface drainage that we can do that'll fix this. All right, over to number 2. The part 3s are really important to me. I love that you have 5. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But the second hole kind of envelops a few things that I love for us to work on. Obviously, the first is this dynamic of the waste areas and how do they perform, how do they work, how do you play out of them, what's their purpose and intent. Obviously, you see here the water holding them. We've got to get better infrastructure in them regardless. We're going to utilize them. The other is that this is a fairly long golf hole, par 3, no chance to bounce the ball in, 0. We got to fix that too. I mean, especially for that length golf hole. Some of the pinch points, so on and off, some of those other dynamics. So there's a handful of things here that just a little bit of TLC, a little bit of intent, a little bit of adjustment would make a world of difference. I think those all have to be part of our list. Looking over at 18, really cool how this wraps around and comes back to this part of the property. The understanding how the waste area works with the formal bunkers and when they're right next to each other, how's that all gonna work? I'm working on that, okay? I'm grinding on it. I'm gonna spend a bunch of time tomorrow working on how do we fit these components together. And then how do we get Matt and his team, something they can maintain. Yeah, natural areas are supposed to look a little rustic. We're a little over the edge on a few of these. We gotta get a little better sense of, yeah, you know what I mean. Is this an example of that same thing? Left side of 10. What a cool piece of ground to play up and over, great dog leg. There's a lot of things going for this that I really love. I think just, unfortunately, the dynamic of the waste bunkers, the formal bunkers, the whole dynamic on that left side, we can do something better, okay? But we can embrace some of that too. But we can give you a really exciting inside of the dog leg that is more maintainable, more playable, more exciting overall. We can do all those things, we're winning. Anybody ever headed this bunker? Anybody know where that is? Oh, look at that, 7. Did you see my little cheat? 7, no, you knew that one? Okay. Matt and I were out looking at this one today. First off, the brown stuff isn't dirt, it's algae. It's from the way the sand and the liner are interacting, and they're not working the way we'd like them to, obviously. So that's something we also know we can address. A couple things about this bunker. One is it's one of those in the short landing zone, right? You just hit it on a little left and you're in there. A couple other things. If a ball just trickles in, it goes right there. And now you're on a downhill lie with that 6-foot face in front of you. How far is the green from there? Anybody know? Too far. Yeah, I was going to say, if anybody's trying to get there, let me know. Okay. If somebody's got it on video, I'd love to see it. So this is one of those things where just tilting the floor to the player completely instead of away from you. Lowering the edge, even if we did that progressive edge like I showed at Interlochen, where this is hardly any face and this is more face, where at least if you hit it in the right half of the bunker, you could get a full club on it and play it as far down as you might care to. Those are some things we can do, you know, if this bunker were to stay, and I'm not even sure this bunker's in the right location, but those are the things we're trying to look at when it comes to the bunkering to make sure that we have thoughtful golf. And when we think about that Tillinghast drawing with the proper side and wrong side, I think this bunker plays way more into that better player challenging that bunker than this guy, especially with how severe that guy is. Another bunker that's kind of similar, over on 1, the forward tee is right here. I swear it's right in front of the bunker. Does it feel that way? Yeah, it's like, it's the first hole. Come on, architect. You have full right when I come back to present the plan, and if I do something like that, you can say, hey, architect, come on, what do you think? All right, let's get the tee in a better position and or adjust the bunker so there's not such a, this condition. And then also this bunker, it's pretty mean and it's over here in the trees. There's some other things we can do, okay? Just being more thoughtful about how we place the hazards into the landscape. Number 3, I really love the idea that you have a significantly uphill approach in the low country. I know you all hate it. It's 1 extra club, maybe 2, okay? So, but it's important. I mean, how many times do you play uphill in the low country? Not often, okay? So it's unique, let's embrace it. This guy though, I don't know if I need that. All right, hey, right? You're trying to run something up here, it's going a little left, it catches this slope, next thing you know it's in that bunker. You got a 40-yard shot uphill over another bunker that you more than likely skull and go over the back edge. I've hit that shot. Okay, so that's another one we could probably look at. Over to 11. I think there's probably, my guess is, there's a component of the membership that would like both of these trees cut down. Look, see, I knew. And then there's another section of this membership that would chain themselves to these 2 trees. Yeah, see, I know. We'll find the right move. I like the trees here because they are really unique. But we got to make sure we can grow grass, we can do some other things. So we'll come back to 11, but I get it. I get both sides of that argument. Number 9. I'm hitting all the winners, aren't I? Oh, number 9. If we can find a way to shorten the overall carry, I think we will look at it. If there's a permitting application that allows us to bridge that gap, we'll investigate it. But we also don't want to hamstring the project and spend a bunch of money in pursuit of something that really doesn't give us what we need. The one thought I'd had in my early looks was potentially pulling the green closer, so at least the target was closer. The carry doesn't change a whole lot, but at least it gets it a little bit shorter for the players. The other thing is if the green came a little closer, you might be able to buffer a little bit of the backdrop. But we got to work on this. I think there's a way to get those, especially the 4T players, in a better position. Over on 12, I put this in just because I thought it was an interesting dynamic where the car traffic is in the shade line, and especially when you play here in the wintertime, the amount of wear and tear from that shade is really tough. It's tough on the maintenance team, it's tough on the golf course. The Empire Zoysia here is actually done pretty well. So that's a really creative solution to a set of circumstances that are hard to adjust. So I like that. It's a little tougher to play out of maybe than the Bermuda rough at times, depending on how the ball comes to sit. The back of 13, I get it. Separating 13 and 15 makes complete sense to have these trees. I just think with the volume of roots and the proximity of that to the putting surface and the target, I'm sure there's many times where you've gone through the green and you're up and close to there and your ball's sitting on a root. You're not really sure how you're supposed to manage that. I just think there's a better solution than the existing circumstances there. All right, the last picture I have, I believe, on the golf course is 14. And the reason I have it here is because I think it's kind of emblematic of all the things we're in pursuit of. Okay? Number 1 is that it's a great par 3. It was designed to be the longest par 3. It's the longest for a number of the tee markers. Some of the forward tee markers, it's a little shorter. But you've got this set of circumstances where you have the kind of waist bunker that's hard to walk in and out of. and hard to maintain. You've got the formal bunker that's hard to walk in and out of, hard to maintain. You've got an approach you can't bounce the ball in, even though it's super long. And once you get about halfway across the green goes away from you. And then there's not a ton of room for the ball to come to rest. And there's drainage in the front that's not adequate for the ground conditions. So you can't bounce the ball in, it's wet in the front. If you fly it onto the green, especially with the lower ball flight, it's through the back. There's a lot of things here, just a little bit of an adjustment will make a huge difference. And I really think this should be one of the best holes on the golf course. It's in a wonderful piece of the property. It really ought to shine, okay? We need to get this one right for the East Course. Okay, a couple last things. When we evaluated all the tee markers on the existing course, we just kind of laid out the scorecard and started to look at the par 3s and the par 5s. So that's the blues are the 3s, the burgundy are the 5s, and you've got championship, medal, member, club, forward, and advantage. I really like where you are on your overall setups, meaning that from roughly 7,000 yards to roughly 4,000 yards. It's a nice canvas. I think there's some work we can do in between to make for a little bit more variety. But overall, the way the golf holes fit in the corridors and the kinds of golf you have, they're sitting there to really be polished. But you got a lot intact, which is great. Again, I love having the 5 par 3s, and I love the idea that if we can make them all have unique personality, meaning a unique club and a unique golf shot for every tee player, that sounds great to me. One of my evaluations in this is to take the tees and put them in a kind of chronological order 1 through 18. Okay, so this is the member tees 1 through 18, and it generates this chart. These are the forward tees, so very similar, right? And you start to see the rhythm of the round. And another good thing you see here is that there are not a lot of back-to-back holes with similar distances. As Mike said, I really think the magic of anything we do on the East Course might be on 11 through 13. It's a transition period, working your way out to the marsh. A lot of those golf holes are plus or minus a certain yardage. Anything we could do to make those more unique, I'm in. At the bottom, we see the holes from shortest to longest. And what we really love to see is a nice diagonal line. And it's pretty good. Compared to a lot of places I've been, this is pretty good. But there's still some places where we have little plateaus and things that I think we can work on the tee setup just to make it more interesting. The goal is that inherently you would hit every club in your bag by making these adjustments. All right, to the future. I'm working on the first draft of the plan. This is not it. This is Chevy Chase Club. Sorry. Anybody here from DC? All right, yeah, we just opened Chevy Chase. Really proud of that one. So we're going to have a master plan like this for the East Course, and it's going to show the proposed improvements. I'm going to come back and talk to you ad nauseum about that, okay? We're also going to try to create a document that you can see what we're proposing, where you can take your time, you can read notes that correspond to letters on the plan. So not only will you get to hear me explain what I'd like you to consider, you'll get to actually study it as much as you want, or as little as you want. It's up to you. We'll have some sort of sketches, green details, some things that you have to be able to dig into and see what we're talking about doing. We're going to have all that together. And then we're working on 3D I can't talk, 3D images. And some of them look scarier than others, and so I get a little nervous sometimes when I show them. This is Jupiter Island Club down in Florida. This is a golf course in eastern North Carolina. We're trying to make this a little more dramatic, and this we're trying to make sure we don't scare anybody, that it's nice and subtle. So it's a little bit of differentiation in the way that we are working with these 3D images. But they start to give you an idea of not only in 2 dimensions on a piece of paper, but in perspectives, what the golf course will look like. This is Kalamazoo Country Club. I'll be here tomorrow afternoon in Michigan. Really cool piece of ground there. This is back in North Carolina. So we're going to have some of these images for you too on the East Course, so that we can get you excited and that you can really feel like you have a sense of what we're in pursuit of. So the last slide I love, my favorite slide I ever use. This is the way the game of golf should make you feel. You guys must be really beat down. This is the way you're supposed to feel. This is my goal. All right? So I love the picture because I want you to feel this way when you get done playing the East course when we're done. I want you to be ready to leave that last green and go back to the first tee and play it again. And this is my guy right here. That's my spirit animal, kind of understated. I appreciate you letting me speak with you this afternoon. I know I didn't have a ton of detail, but I hope I gave you a good sense of the things I'm looking at. And I look forward to the next chance when I get to talk to you. At that time, we'll present a plan, talking about some of the details. So what that means is when I open it to questions on the next slide, I don't know how much this costs. I don't have an exact timeline. We will get there, I promise you, okay? But I'm really excited. I'll answer broad questions the best I can about the golf course. Happy to do that. Anything about me or my process, okay? Thank you so much.
I think you can tell why we were so excited when Andrew agreed to come on property and take a look at our East course and see what we've got. He's a very impressive gentleman and clearly well-renowned. We will open it up to questions. All we ask is that the questions are only related to Andrew's role and the East course renovation. Anybody?
So you mentioned on one of the holes, I think it was on 9, that you want me to use mic or just I'll yell.
Hang on a minute, Joe. We'll get it to you.
I can yell. Okay. You mentioned on 9th hole that perhaps it might be a good idea to move up the green to make it more playable. Now, I don't live on the 9th hole, but some people have bought their homes based on the views. And then if you move the green, then it may hurt their home,
Sure.
values or whatever.
So-
What's your answer to that?
Yeah, the question was about the 9th green, and if we move it, does that adjust the way the homes present themselves at the golf course or vice versa? Totally get that. It's something we will think through, and I realize that would be or could be a potential adjustment. That's why I didn't show you, my first thoughts there, other than just saying that's a potential. Now, the other thing we could do is take the green and make it more elongated. So bring it closer, but not really remove it from the back. That would give you more room to land the ball and let it really stop. And it would also bring the front of the green closer to those tees. Great question. Yes, sir. So the questions about grasses, I'm not quite there yet, other than just tried and true. I think Tiff Eagle's been really good. That's, from a putting green turf, I'm pretty locked in there. I think for the Bermuda grass or Zoysia grasses we might consider, we got a little work to do.
Anyone else?
Do you have any initial thoughts on holes 4 and 5?
Holes 4 and 5.
Part 3.
Yeah. Give me a second. Yeah, I think I'd say both are not living up to their potential. And the way they share some space, there's probably some thoughts of how to maybe reorganize or adjust things in that area. Had a couple different thoughts. I'm investigating at least 2 of those tomorrow. Generally, I like the idea of how the intent of 5, but I'm not sure the execution of 5 is what we're looking for. It reminds me a bit of somebody you might see in a video game of, it's great, you can hit it there, but you really can't, you guys know. Let me work on it. But I think both of those holes have some really nice opportunity for improvement. Other?
Any thought of reversing 17?
The question was about reversing 17. Absolutely, I've thought about it, and I think we will at least get it on paper and see how feasible it is. So the question is about, if you reverse 17, doesn't that mean 17 and 14 play the same direction? Maybe. I got something on my sleeve. That's why I answered both of those. Those are both good, though. I totally get it. And one thing about me, okay? I won't stand up here and say, I got a cool idea, trust me. I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. If I can't explain it well enough, I'll try again. we might have a differing of opinion, but I'm gonna try to at least shoot you as straight as I can, okay? I'm gonna give you the best information possible.
One hole.
Hang on one second. Ron, hang on one second. I'll give you the mic.
I've been here 5 years. The one hole that I've thought is unfair for just about everybody here except the really good golfers is number 6. Nobody can get there in regulation. I've moved up to the club tees. I consider myself a half-decent player, and I still can't get there. So any consideration, I've thought about making it a par 5
Sure.
or shortening out some way so you can actually have a chance to get it in regulation.
I love that question. Yeah, I think those are both things that I've been thinking about and working through. Again, going to spend a bunch of time on property tomorrow morning. I think there's value in having a long par 4 where you have to hit your 2 best shots to get home, but you've got to be able to hit your 2 shots to get home. And one of my things is like the picture where the footprints are. If you could land your ball where those footprints are and actually have the ball released to the green, now you got a fighting shot. But it doesn't work that way now because you land there and then there's a fairly significant trough before you'd ever get a further kick. So we'll try to find a way, one way or another, to make sure that you can be successful there.
You admitted the slopes remaining, whatever snap change.
Yeah, so questions about slope rating, I assume? Yeah, that's a tough question for me, especially at this point. I always say there's kind of voodoo in how raters figure the slope rating and par out, or you know what I mean, the slope and rating. I would stand by what I said at the beginning of the objectives, where the higher handicap players are probably going to feel like it's a little easier because we've removed some troublesome things from their sight line. The average players probably aren't going to see any difference, and the better players are going to think it's harder. Anything else? Yes, sir, in the back.
The question, I understood in the past, or maybe misunderstood, that the Fazio organization was still involved to an extent contractually, and reversing 17 was an issue from that perspective. It always struck us that it would be gorgeous looking out to the marsh. Are they still involved in this, or are we broken free of that, or I'm just not, I guess I'm ignorant about it.
Yeah, it's not for me. Sorry. Yes, in the back. Just say it loud and I'll hear you.
I can be loud.
Okay.
So, once you've done the redesign, we're going to be one of the best golf courses in the Carolinas. That's what I understood you to
Let's
say.
do that.
And I hope that's true. The question I have for you is, where are we now? How much of an improvement are we going to go from the East Course we got to the East Course we're going to have?
That's a great question. Yeah, I guess it's a matter of, what do you find, what's a level of success, right? What's a level of improvement? I think right now there's probably 6 golf holes on the East Course that are kind of ho-hum. There's probably 6 holes that are pretty stunning and need just a little bit of TLC. And there's the other third are kind of average. We can do better, but there's something there to work with. And I always feel like the thing that I'm most proud of is when a group of people play a golf course and there's 5 or 6 favorite holes, not just one. There's no such thing as a signature hole because a bunch of them are outstanding. And that it's a really consistent golf course from the first to the last hole. You feel like it's part of a connected group. They're not just these things that are wild on one edge or the other, that it's a good, consistent level. And then the biggest success for me is golf courses that get a lot of play. They're loved because people want to play them. Those are the things that are highly successful. As far as where you are now, I'd say, obviously it's a great club. It's a great facilities, great people, so that plays into part of it. But I think we can get, a full letter grade better. Pretty darn easy. And we can do maybe even better than that. So give me a little time to show you the plan, and I'll let you guys help me judge where we are and where we're headed. Yes, sir.
We've heard you talk about it being more of a links course and having fewer trees. What's the vision for that?
Yeah, so the question's about a links course and fewer trees. Yeah, I'm not sure I exactly said that, but I think there's some places where trees need to be removed to grow good grass and to have, you know, if you're gonna have a bunker, the bunker needs to be able to be maintained, you know, and have turf around it. That bunker on one is jammed in the trees. I'm not sure that's a great spot. As far as the styling of the golf course, I don't know if I would totally, you know, describe it as one specific thing. I think it needs to be the best darn East course of Belfair possible, and it needs to stand on its own here in the Low Country. And the reason I'm here is because I think we can do that. That it shouldn't be like any other place down here. It should be its own thing, and that's what I'm in pursuit of. All right, last question over here.
Thoughts on right of 5 and right of 8, with all that terrain is covered with grass, et cetera, et cetera.
So right of 5 and right of 8, the terrain that's covered with grass. Yeah, I think there's some space there for some utilization of something. And maybe that's a combination of improvements to 4, 5, 8, 9, something in that corner. If we're gonna look at anything significant with the way the golf holes play, the only place that I think we have significant reason to even study it is on 17, if I can pull it off, and in that corridor. So basically from 4T all the way out to 6, all the way to 9. If we could tweak a few things in there and make all those golf holes better, it's something I'd bring back to you. All right? I'm going to be here for a little bit. If you have any other questions, really appreciate you guys.
I think Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the second day you've ever been on property here? He's pulling these golf holes off the top of his head. He's remembering the right side of 8. Those of us, I'm sitting there going, right side of 8, right side. Oh yeah, that's pretty fun. The fact that he can remember that off the top of his head after being on property for 2 days is amazing. Logistically, just so you all know, you're coming back, we're not exactly sure when. We're going to have another member forum, as Mike pointed out, in the next few weeks to answer more questions that you might not have heard of. We're going to ask you to send those in so we can have answers for you. And we'll continue to have this dialogue so you guys can get comfortable with what we're trying to go down. Thanks.